What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with Dark Outpost, and with Disney Star Wars in shambles right now, The Mandalorian has been one of the only bright spots in the franchise, despite my and many other people's criticisms of the show. But if you are a fan of The Mandalorian, what Giancarlo Esposito, the actor who plays Moff Gideon, said in a recent interview should have you hoping that what he said is just the case of an actor being very ignorant about Star Wars lore and not him actually trying to reveal something about his character. Let's take a look at what he said and why you should be hoping that this is not the case. From Bounding into Comics, Giancarlo Esposito teases The Mandalorian's Moff Gideon's mysterious and dark past. And there are some things that he talks about in this interview that actually I think are very positive and very good things that you want to see from an actor, both from an actor standpoint coming into Star Wars and the things that Jon Favreau has evidently told him as a creator for someone who is coming into Star Wars. But we're going to take a look at it and tell you why some of the things he said is ridiculous. Giancarlo Esposito recently hinted that his Star Wars character Moff Gideon, one who plays one of the major villains in the first season of The Mandalorian, is Force sensitive. Of course, they're gonna make him Force sensitive. Of course, because it's Disney Star Wars. When each and every person can access the Force, all you have to do is think about it hard enough and try hard enough. Anyone can touch the Force. Now, this is not a confirmation. This is simply him hinting. We're gonna listen to his actual words. And this isn't even the worst part of his statement. The worst part comes much later when he extrapolates from that what it could mean. And it makes you roll your eyes if you know anything about Star Wars. And it should be noted that Jon Favreau, before The Mandalorian came out, he told us that it was going to be a story of, kind of a dark hero's journey, a dark hero's story. It wasn't going to be about the Jedi. It wasn't going to be about the Force. Well, turns out that was a lie, because it definitely is about the Force as soon as the child enters into the mix. And you know damn well that it's about to be part of the Jedi as well. The Jedi are going to play a part in this. Now, whether it's an actual sanctioned Jedi or whether it's someone like Ahsoka who has become not a Jedi anymore, whatever, it's going to involve Jedi. And now Moff Gideon himself has teased that he's Force sensitive. Let's get into this. Esposito spoke with Entertainment Tonight about his upcoming role as Anton Castillo in Far Cry, but was also questioned about his role as Moff Gideon in The Mandalorian. Entertainment Tonight's Ash Crossan asked Esposito, I have to know what your reaction when you found out you were going to be wielding the Darksaber and what it looks like on set, because it was one of the most badass shots I've ever seen. And I will say that when he crawled out of his wrecked TIE fighter using the Darksaber to cut it out, it was a pretty badass looking shot. And immediately so many fans, at least if you're fans of the Clone Wars or Rebels, or if you've watched those shows, you know that that was the Darksaber and what that means to Mandalorians. Esposito responded, I have to say it's such an honor. Very few have wielded that saber. It was just really wonderful to be in the organic version of the story. Jon Favreau asked me to do it. I was head over heels. He mentioned that he had written it for me. And this is one of the things that I think is interesting. Esposito continued, I went and started to look at old Moffs. What's a Moff? I went back and looked at Peter Cushing was a Moff. So this is him talking about actually doing his research. Someone who is clearly not a super hardcore Star Wars fan, who doesn't know what a Moff is, who has to go back and start doing research. So he takes a look at Grand Moff Tarkin's display of a Moff. What do they do? Who are they? And then was really present in conversations with Jon about his Imperial status, his carryover from the Empire, how Moffs operate, and why possibly leaving room, it's always possibly, why he might be the Moff to take everything over. So that is a good thing to see someone who doesn't necessarily know a lot about Star Wars kind of dive into it and start to learn a little more. But I do think it's very present later, it's very obvious later that he doesn't know a ton about Star Wars because of the statement that he's about to make. He elaborated, noting he asked Favreau quite a few questions about the character. How does he know everything? There were a bunch of questions. Some of them got answered, and many of them not, because he's still trying to find that out. So the story is still being written by Jon Favreau. That is clear. Esposito then provided a little more info about Moff Gideon, indicating he's not afraid to get down and dirty himself. And now this is one of the things that I have to say, the reason I actually found this story in the first place was right here on Star Wars stuff. Because they put this clip up there, which is what kind of made me be on the lookout for any stories. Let's listen to what Moff Gideon says.
There were a bunch of questions. And so, which some of them got answered and many of them not, because he's still trying to find that out. So to be in the position of...
That's talking about Jon Favreau still trying to find that out.
Having that kind of regal, graceful power, but have this saber, which delineates a different part of me than any other character.
I will also say that I think Giancarlo Esposito did a very good job acting as this character. I think that for the first time when his character showed up, he immediately had a presence. He immediately was intimidating just because how he played that character. So I do think he did a really good job displaying that on screen.
Mm-hmm. To have this saber means I can use it, and I can do my own dirty work. That I'm a fighter, that I'm a warrior, that's part of me. Also creates the possibility of...
Here it is.
That he is, one of the ones. Like he possibly has that. And that to me is interesting.
So by one of the ones, everyone is assuming he means one of the people who can use the Force, a Force-sensitive individual. I suppose he could mean one of the ones, as the father, son, and daughter, but I don't think that's the case from Giancarlo Esposito. I think he's talking about using the Force, and you can see the quote right here. Esposito concluded the question hinting Moff Gideon might be... This is the part we need to listen to. Might be a Force user, and even beyond that, he might be a fallen Jedi, or even possibly a descendant of Darth Vader. Now, that makes zero sense, Giancarlo Esposito. Let's listen to him actually say this, because you have to hear it for yourself. Like I said, I hope that he's just putting out theories out there. Doesn't think that's actually possible. Why would anyone that has any knowledge of Star Wars think that that is possible? But let's listen. We'll start off a little bit before we ended.
Like he possibly has that, and that to me is interesting, because is he really that fallen hero? Is he, is he a descendant of Darth Vader? Who is he? What does he want? Mm-hmm. He knows all about everything, and you'll have to wait to find out. Yeah. And he's actually pretty good with that darksaber too. Oh.
So, is he a fallen hero? Is he a fallen Jedi? Is he a descendant of Darth Vader? There's literally no one that thinks that. There's literally no reason to think that he's a descendant of Darth Vader. Why would anyone in their right mind think that, if you know anything about Star Wars? Now, to address the issue of whether he's a fallen Jedi, that doesn't really make sense either. He's a Moff during the Empire age. Like, why would a fallen Jedi... One, he'd have to escape Order 66, which wouldn't be shocking, because literally 1 million people in Disney Star Wars evidently escape Order 66. But then somehow he would rise to power as a Moff, as an Imperial. That makes no sense at all. There is a lot to be revealed about this character still. Maybe he became a Moff after the fall of the Empire and took over a little place. Maybe he wasn't actually a Moff then. I don't know. One thing is for sure, there's no way this character is a descendant of Darth Vader. And if he is, stand by. Now, the idea that he thinks he's Force sensitive just because he's wielding a darksaber also makes zero sense. We know that you don't need to wield the Force to use the darksaber. We've specifically seen it on screen several times. We saw Sabine Wren use the darksaber. She is not Force sensitive. We saw Gar Saxon use it. He is not Force sensitive. We can only assume that after Bo-Katan was given it by Sabine that she used it. Now, we never actually saw that in action. But time and time in Star Wars, specifically in the Clone Wars and Rebels, we've seen, Jedi drop their lightsabers or something like that, and that someone who is not Force sensitive pick it up and be able to use it. Now, not be able to wield it super effectively in a lot of cases, but at least grab it and turn it on. So this idea that, I use a darksaber, I must be Force sensitive, if that's why he's saying that, then I think that's silly. Is it something that has been revealed to him? Is it a part of this story? Is that the reason why he's so interested in getting the child Baby Yoda? Because it's another Force sensitive like himself. I guess only time will tell when it comes to the Mandalorian. But if Disney Star Wars is dumb enough to make him a descendant of Darth Vader, then anyone that hadn't lost hope before should lose it now. That would be absolutely devastating to this franchise if they somehow decided to do that. What do you think about this? Do you think that Moff Gideon is Force sensitive? Do you think it could possibly be descendant of Darth Vader? Or do you think Giancarlo Esposito is just talking out of his ass and has no idea what he's talking about? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I will talk to you later.
Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.